The ancient Greco-Roman philosophy of Stoicism offers profound and timeless wisdom, yet modern ears may find some pieces of Stoic advice completely contrary to common behaviors today. In their pursuit of an unshakable state of mental calm and composure, Stoic philosophers cautioned against excessively discussing certain anxiety-inducing topics that can throw us into emotional turmoil and disturb our peace of mind. As both human psychology and the most common daily conversations have changed little over thousands of years, ignoring this Stoic advice continues to result in immense and needless suffering for many. For those longing for inner tranquility amidst life's endless tribulations, reconsidering the 2,300-year-old teachings on the subjects of death, regret, possessions, pleasure-seeking, and more may offer a critical key. Join me as I dust off the time-tested guidelines and examine why Stoics warn that serenity will always elude those who cannot stop dwelling on or debating these 13 subjects. Number 13. Existential dread. Uncertainty festers fears of what lies beyond death's curtain, often portrayed as terrifying eternal judgment, rather than peaceful release into that undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns. Endless debate yields scant certainty to questions unanswerable. Therefore, Stoics urge anchoring in the sole moment given you now, instead of passions tossed adrift by existential angst. Avoid wasting energy paddling through vast oceans of anxiety about existence's ultimate origin or destination. Commit rather to a virtuous purpose, accessible here, providing meaning for the short interval granted under the sun before individual flame extinguishes to ash. Even infinitude, how brightly your brief spark illuminates the present darkness. Number 12. Celebrity gossip. The stage lights of fame and celebrity entrance, all who fall under their seductive spell. Yet Stoics caution that the stage itself remains an illusion. Do not let hollow praise written about actors, athletes, or dignitaries distract you from meaningful purpose. Do not be bedazzled by status, wealth, or beauty impermanent as youth. See through superficial charm and acknowledge reality's settings typically lack glamour when lights go down. Discuss ideas and actions that dignify humanity, not fabulated versions of lives, embellished primarily to elicit emotion. True substance requires honest assessment, avoided where gossip and sensationalism hold court. Number 11. Exaggerating offences. No mortal passes through life unscathed by those who thoughtlessly inflict harm or fail to walk in another's shoes. Stoics taught that clinging to every offence exaggerates its weight and impact. Maintaining indignation over wounds, wrongs, or insults only festers inner poison while the offender walks free unencumbered. Release grudges readily, lest you grant them permanent sanctuary status to disturb your peace eternally. Accept that none can escape human fallibility or error, and your own days shall surely require grace when you stumble too. Number 10. Perfectionism. Rugged cliffs refuse all but the most daring attempts to scale their sheer faces. Likewise, perfectionism erects summit standards almost impossible to attain, then assails every handhold for weakness in the tortuous, risk-filled ascent. Meanwhile, the gentle countryside of excellence spreads invitingly before us, requiring no death-defying rope tricks to traverse meadows blooming colourful as far as the eye travels. Their beauty abounds in varieties that delight the soul and revive the weary. With no fear of failure's plunge, Stoics avoid the compulsion demanded by perfectionism's boot camp drills that crush rather than train. Opt instead for rational progress along the countryside of excellence, whose vistas inspire and refresh. Perfectionism will always find faults. Excellence nurtures healthy reach beyond what you thought possible. Number 9. Excessive pleasure seeking. Honeyed wine glides down without restraint, soon followed by a dozen more cups greedily tipped. Bellies once filled with loaves of discipline grow lean with craving, as appetites demand ever more delicious delicacies and exotic enticements. Laughter erupts more boisterous each hour as merriment stretches toward dawn, yet bleeding heads ache as sunshine reveals damage done the night before. So goes the topsy-turvy carnival of unrestrained sensation, where parties live only for the next high promised by appetites, ravenous for endless stimulation and satisfaction. Stoics avoid the extremes of hedonism, knowing pleasure's dizzying effects never endure. They call instead for simple discipline that brings true joy, untouched by ravenous craving or insatiable desire that always leave one emptied. Number 8. Envying others. The grinning ghost of envy lurks wherever abundance overflows without effort. Why do some march ahead in fame or fortune seemingly unimpeded while we strain against resistance on our own steep path? Stoics warn envy erodes without ever satisfying. Each time we gaze longingly at another's status, joy abandons the gifts already resting in our hands. Soon we mistake friends for rivals and no longer cheer the victories of peers. Moderation's relaxed gait measures life's race by inner progress instead of outward acceleration. We journey the terrain allotted, avoiding obsession over routes assigned to companions. Their grassy trails appear smoother, unaware of the stones hidden underneath. Focus instead on developing inner life and clearing your defined course. They find gratitude in realizing unique purposes without wasted diversion, coveting the roads of others. Number 7. Seeking revenge. Fury burns to right perceived wrongs, imagining that vengeance rights tipped scales. When injured, the deepest wounds often trace back to cracks in pride's fortress walls now breached. Rather than battle endlessly to smooth all rough stones heaped on the path, accept that feet will stumble skinned on jagged points though level ground be sought. Pouring salt in the cuts of competitors, opponents, or betrayers cannot restore what is lost, nor heal the heart now scarred. Revenge is a meal that fails to satisfy, its simmering hatred scalding the tongue long after the dish grows cold. Quench fiery thoughts with cool water, allowing time to filter impurities. Measure justice in developing character, not demolishing the flower-wed characters of others. None stand so tall they will not one day fall. Number 6. Complaining excessively. The sting of injustice unleashes torrents of complaint that swell far beyond reason. We imagine ourselves martyrs subjected unjustly to hardship no person should be asked to endure. When friends circle to console, they meet ears already deafened by personal misery's cries. Each new day births further grievances added to the seething cauldron, even as those who suffer true oppression walk in quiet courage, soaked to the bone. Cease broadcasting petty annoyances as major calamities. Perspective lifts eyes blinded by self-importance to see more clearly. The fair allotment given. No cup brims perfectly. Accept imperfections with grace and surprises with gratitude. Redirect rants into solution building and wound binding. Number 5, obsessing over possessions. Insatiable appetite demands yet more to sate transient craving, even as true nourishment of the soul starves. The lust for owning ignites fiery jealousy when those we judge undeserving gain what we lack. Such poisoned yearning spurns gratitude's banquet prepared by providence. Though avarice boasts openly of hard-won spoils, secret shame lurks within as conscience whips the ostentatious display that heaps treasures certain to erode. Disdain, prideful stacking of glittering trophies or titled pedigrees used as measuring sticks to divide. Mercurial fortune bestows her gifts arbitrarily and withdraws them with sudden disfavor. Increase inner wealth instead by easing another's burdened, backbent struggling under too heavy a load. Number 4, taking charge. The appetite of avarice clamors to be sated, yet grows leaner the more it consumes. Insatiable desire fixates on acquiring and stockpiling goods stamped with the ephemeral mark of ownership. Yet moth, rust, tempest and thief all conspire against such fleeting treasure, eroding the sandcastles built tall to exalt one above the modest means of his day. True wealth dwells not in overflowing storehouses or intricately tooled trifles that pamper the body and shrink the soul. Rather, lasting value resides unseen in refined character ever nurtured beyond the influence of outward fortune, whether her wheel spins, silks, or rags. For fame and riches may abandon even the most favoured steward on a fateful turn, but wisdom and virtue companion us securely even past departure's veil to realms unknown. Number 3, worrying about the future. An untamed colt galloping wild, the future flicks a tail that cannot be harnessed, yet all attempt to saddle uncertainty with predictions meant to domesticate the mystery looming ahead. Stoics urge making provision today for coming seasons, winter wheat faithfully sown to guard against famine's bite, but exhaustive anxiety over events beyond control exhausts inner reserves by ceaseless speculation. No mortal chart can accurately map every twist or turn in the river that curves toward lands unseen. Thus we are cautioned not to obsess over building dams to contain what is uncertain, but instead to voyage reality's waters wisely when blessed with favorable currents or buffered by unforeseen storms. Number 2, dwelling on the past. Regret imprisons the mind in bars woven by unrelenting memory and perpetual longing. We each replay moments at 1,000 forks in the road, imagining vistas of glory had we journeyed the alternate route. Such daydreaming tempts as a sweet narcotic, yet imbibing regret's poison never alters the past. Its addiction breeds only creeping anguish and hopeless wishful thinking that blind our eyes to opportunities gifted in the fast fleeting present. The clear-eyed Stoic chooses to view the past not as a haunting ghost that tortures with eternal criticism over failed paths taken, but rather as the wise teacher whose lectures once missed may yet impart precious insight when attended with careful reflection rather than emotional lamentation. Number 1, fearing death. On all sides it rises steep and inescapable, the unavoidable fact of our mortality. Most resist facing death's shadow, yet anxiety over dying plagues even the most successful. Why do Stoics urge accepting death's inevitability rather than railing against life's final curtain? Mortality haunts largely because its date remains a mystery, inspiring futile attempts to bargain for more time. Yet focusing on death steals joy from each new dawn bestowed. The Stoic instead finds peace in using the unpredictable gift of the present, ever mindful that the hourglass will one day run out. Death arrives unbidden to escort us away, even as we plead for another dance. Yet our partner, death, waits patiently, with hand extended through all the seasons allotted, never pressured, but never late. The teachings of the ancient Stoic philosophers may strike modern ears as radical rejections of common social behaviors. However, by avoiding endless circular conversations that breed anxiety, anger, and dissatisfaction, Stoics attained an inner tranquility enviable to anyone suffering the emotional storms of life. Rather than obsessing over death, the past, uncertainty, possessions, status, rivals, offenses, pleasure, standards, gossip, or existential questions, Stoics poured their mental energy into purposeful living. Through practicing wisdom, courage, moderation, and justice daily, release the fruitless subjects that cannot be controlled and embrace the power within your reach, the power to choose your response. Who among us could not benefit from worrying less, complaining less, comparing less about what might have been or what others have? Trade anxiety for action. Trade bitterness for betterment. Trade perfectionism for steady progress. You need not become an ancient ascetic to lead a more meaningful life. Simply opening space for gratitude and disentangling from subjective thinking can profoundly change your experience of each moment before it slips away. I encourage you to reflect on which of the 13 subjects discussed most commonly sabotage your peace or distraction from purpose. Then purposefully redirect wasted energy into small, positive steps toward self-development. What could be possible if you decluttered mental chatter around fear, regret, pleasure, and gossip? Comment your thoughts on subjects you aim to worry less about, and goals you will actively work toward instead. Together, we can encourage one another in walking the time-tested path of the Stoics toward greater serenity and joy.